Okay, shalom everyone. Hello, welcome. This is new thing I'm going to try now. Is saying the Parshas Shir live and or almost live, and hopefully this is a good way for everybody to keep in touch and keep our chizuk going. And b'siyata d'shmayim, we should be zoche to feel connected and maintain our connection to Torah and to Avodas Hashem, Rabbeim and Talmidim together. And okay, here we go. So it's Parshas Pinchas this week. And Parshas Pinchas, the Nesivos Shalom has a very, very beautiful idea where he discusses a very peculiar thing that comes up. It's actually the question of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, where he asks, why is it that in this week's Parsha we have the Parshas of the Karbanos? Why is it that we have the Karbanos Sibor that are brought down at the end of the Parsha, Parshas Pinchas, and they seem to be totally out of context. Bnei Israel were l'chora bringing these karbanos throughout the time in the Midbar once the Mishkan was brought, and now we're already dealing with a later point in the history of this generation. It doesn't really make sense that only now does the Torah come and tell us about these karbanos. So what is it doing here? And particularly, what is the juxtaposition between the appointment of Yehoshua as the successor to Moshe Rabbeinu? How is it that seems to be the introduction to the Karbanos? What is the connection? So the Nesivos Shalom says very, very beautifully that based on an idea that he found in the Noam Elimelech of Parshas Noach. Noam Elimelech says that every door has a particular mitzvah which is its tafkid and its avoda to work on. And he says, for example, in his generation, the avoda was on the mitzvah tzitzis, and the Chachmei Hador of that generation, the wise men of that generation, they understand what is the particular avoda, what is the particular improvement, let's say, that they need to work on for their generation. So every generation has its personality, has its form of service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu's generation was the generation of the Dor Deah. It was the generation that received the Torah from Har Sinai, and it was a generation of intellectual, cerebral connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the laws of the Torah. However, Yehoshua was a different generation. We know that the Mishnah Avos teaches us the world stands on three things: Torah, which is our intellect is connected and dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Talmud Torah. Avoda is the service of the heart, and Gemilas Chasadim. So Moshe Rabbeinu's generation was the generation of Torah. Moshe gave us the Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he taught it to us, and that was his generation's avoda, the Dor Deah. However, the Dor of Yehoshua's service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu was actually service. It was avoda. There's Torah and then avoda. So Yeshua's service was the service of the avoda, which is the reference to karbanos. We often refer to avoda as avoda shabbalei. Tefillah is avoda shabbalei because tefillah is keneged karbanos. It's corresponding to the bringing of the karbanos, and the so the generation of Yehoshua was the generation of avoda, and the concept of avoda is a concept of mesiras nefesh, of self-sacrifice, of pushing oneself, of sacrificing oneself, and the concept of sacrificing one's property, one's cattle, is tied into that very, very much. Just to take a break for a second from the Nesivos Shalom, so the Ein Yaakov there's a famous Ein Yaakov that I believe is in the Hakdamah of Ein Yaakov that has become famous in recent days. It's been quoted by Rav Matziyahu Salomon, it's been quoted by Rav Aaron Feldman, it's been quoted by Rav Aaron Lichtenstein Zatzal, and the Ein Yaakov records a conversation between the Tanoim as to what is the most important pasuk in the Torah. So one opinion says the most important pasuk in the Torah is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. There's one God, and we should have that emunah. And emunah obviously is a very important thing. So Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's one opinion. Another opinion, that of Rabbi Akiva, Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. We know the Q said Zekhal Gadol Torah. It's the most important thing in the Torah. So therefore, that's the most important pasuk. And the third opinion says no. The most important pasuk in the Torah is also in this week's parsha. Es hakel es echad tasavaboker es hakel es hasheni tasa ben harbayim. The command of the Torah to have the carbon tamid, to have a carbon every single day, and that command is the most important pasuk in the Torah. So everybody's like, okay, Shema, I understand. That's connection with Hashem. V'havarav kamocha, I understand. That's our connection between man and man. But what is going on with esakev sachat hasavoke, right? To bring a lamb in the morning and a lamb in the evening. Why is that so important? So there's basically two approaches that I have heard from various rabbanim in explaining this. One, I heard from Rabbi Sachs many times in Pesach, that it's a concept of consistency, that a person has to be consistent in their avodas Hashem. The carbon tamid means that it's brought every single day, every single morning a lamb, every single evening a lamb, and that consistent avodah is a necessary and fundamental aspect of our commitment to being a people of God. We can't say, oh, today I'm not feeling up to this, oh, today I'm not feeling up to that. We can't say that we can't follow our whims and give over our commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be substituted or replaced or excused, whenever we have an excuse. So that's one explanation for what does it mean that is the most important pasuk in the Torah. But the second explanation ties in very well to what the Nesivos Shalom is saying. The second explanation is that it's a reference to karbonos, because the whole meaning of karbonos is Mesirus Nefesh. The most important pasuk in the Torah is a pasuk which tells us you have to have Mesirus Nefesh. You have to have self-sacrifice. A person has to be able to be mevatel themselves, humble themselves, nullify themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to conform their lifestyle to the will of God in order to be a successful Jew, in order to be a successful Eved Hashem. And this is the idea that the door of Yehoshua, the generation that is going to enter into Eretz Yisrael, in order to found in order to create a foundation for the Jewish people in their holy land of Israel. So what that's going to take Mesirus Nefesh. That's going to take self-sacrifice. So this is the connection between Yehoshua and the tzivui of the karbonos. The Torah says in this week's parsha, no, Yehoshua is appointed because you're going to Eretz Yisrael. No, that life is going to take Mesirus Nefesh. It's not just in Eretz Yisrael that it takes Mesirus Nefesh, but particularly in Eretz Yisrael it does. But in general, the lifestyle of Yehoshua and conquering the land and going and building the Jewish people, that is an avoda of Mesirus Nefesh. That's the avoda of karbonos. It also says in the Parshas of the karbonos, Tishmeru lahakriv li b'moado. So each moed, every holiday, has its carbon, as well as the carbon tamid. That's also starts off the whole parsha of the karbonos. And the idea is, what's Tishmeru lahakriv li b'moado? Guard so that you bring it to me on time. It doesn't just mean bring it on time. It says in Nesivos Shalom, Tishmeru is a language of waiting and anticipating. And the idea is, as we see by Yaakov Avinu, Aviv Shamar Sadavar, that when Yosef told Yaakov the dreams that he had, that the sun, moon, and stars will bow down to me. So Yaakov Avinu seemed to dismiss it, but really Shamar Sadavar, he held on to it. Meaning, Rashi explains, Mamtinu Mitzapa Ad Shiyavo. He was waiting and anticipating when is that actually going to come true. And this idea of Tishmeru Lahakriv Li B'Moado is the idea that we also have there's an idea that we're supposed to be waiting, anticipating, hoping, anxiously for that opportunity to be able to bring the karbonos. And the Gemara in Shabbos says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, after 120, when a person gets up to Shemayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, based on Shamala, they ask him certain questions. They ask him, Nasatav Natav Emunah, were you honest in business? And they ask him, Asaktav Piri Rivya, did you try to have children? And he'll ask you, Kalata eating the Torah, did you make sure that you had time for Torah? And he asks you, Tzipiso Yeshua, did you anxiously await the salvation? Did you wait for Mashiach to come? Did you wait for the Beis Hamikdash to be built? And this is an expectation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has of us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects us to be looking for it, to be waiting for it, to be hoping for the Beis Hamikdash to be built as soon as possible. That we should be able to bring karbonos, that we should be able to serve Hashem Yisrael in the most maximum way. in the ideal way. That's a hishtokukus. That's the language of the Nesivos Shalom. A hishtokukus, an anxious awaiting, an anxious hoping for that opportunity to bring karbanos and to connect to Hashem through karbanos. So, and that's what it means. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Tishmru lahakili b'mado." I want you to wait for it. I want you to guard it. Meaning, I want you to hope for it. I want you to wait for it. I want you to have an anxious desire to bring me karbanos at the right time. And the Gemara Menachos says that if a person that if a person is osek, if a person is involved in a carbon ola, so it's as though he brought an ola. He's involved in a chatas as though he brought a chatas. The idea of meaning, like unishal aparim svasenu that Chazal said, Joshua from the pasuk, that our mouths through learning about karbanos, through saying karbanos, so we are able to accomplish as though we ourselves are bringing the karbanos. And this is an idea that is something that the more we connect to karbanos, so the more we're able to build this our connection with it, our understanding of it. It's not something that we relate to on a normal level. It's, who feels anything about karbanos? Animals. You have a pet dog. You're like, hey, I love animals. I want to sacrifice animals. The idea is that the more we learn about it, the more we connect to it. So it means something to us, and it means something as though we're giving ourselves over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This time now that we're in this group of Bein HaMetzarim of the 3 weeks is a time to be ma'orah, to awaken ourselves towards wanting the Beis HaMikdash, towards wanting to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Beis HaMikdash. Mashal Ma Davidova says in Nesivos Shalom is like sometimes an artist or a graphic designer in our day would have to put, like, let's say, a black background and then put the writing on top of it, or put a design on top of it. So he says that the black background is the Bein HaMetzarim, that these 3 weeks are times that we are in Avelus, we're mourning over the Churban, but why? Because ultimately, once we have that recognition that we really are missing the Beis HaMikdash, so we really need the Beis HaMikdash, we need the karbanos to be brought, so then we are able to use that orientation to fill in a certain desire, a certain connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a positive sense. We're then able to put the design, put the picture on top of the black. That Bein HaMetzarim is 22 days, as well as the Yom Naraim from Rosh Hashanah through Shmini Atzeres, 22 days. Those 22 days now is the preparation for them. And really, the truth is, it's all one process. We're supposed to really connect all of this. The Gemara's the schedule. I'm sorry, the schedule of our coming few months. That we're in the 3 weeks now, where we have in the Haftorahs, we have 3 Shalosh Tepuranusa. We have 3 Haftorahs of condemnation, of punishment, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says there's going to be a Churban, there's going to be a punishment, the Bnei Yisrael is going to be in Golus. And then, after Tisha B'Av, we have Shivat and Nechemta, we have 7 Haftorahs of consolation, of comforting, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself comes and comforts us. And those 7 Haftorahs lead us all the way up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to the Zman of Yom Naraim. Because it's all a time of almost breaking ourselves down. That's what it means, the Churban. We're breaking ourselves down and recognizing that we are in Golus, we are in exile, and we are not where we're supposed to be. We're not who we are supposed to be, and we should be working so much harder to be there. And then ultimately building ourselves up through the Shivat and Nechemta, recognizing that even though we've fallen so much, but Hashem is with us. He'll never forsake us. He'll never leave us behind. And we're still connected to Him. He's still accessible to us. That's the message of the Shivat and Nechemta. And that leads us to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and a time of tshuva, and of trying to return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which ultimately leads us to the time of Sukkot, which is a time of basking within the glow, the holy glow of the Sukkah, which is Hashem's protection. In this context, we try to connect now to the Bein HaMetzarim, to this time of Avelus. It's hard for us to connect to mourning over the Beis HaMikdash, to feeling like we're actually missing karbanos. But if we see karbanos as a symbol of Mesiras Nefesh, like we spoke about before, as a symbol of self-sacrifice, then maybe it can be meaningful to us. There's 2 components, two ideas as to how to look at karbanos as Mesiras Nefesh. And in the old days, they didn't have cash. They didn't have printed money with George Washington on it, or or whatever, or they didn't have, or whatever over here, Levi Eshkol or whoever else is on the Eshkol. They didn't have printed money. What was money? What was currency? Was their animals? Was their livestock? So could you imagine going to an altar and putting a stack of five $100 bills on top of the altar and setting fire to it? It would be painful. It would be painful. It would mean I'm giving up something significant in my life for Hakadosh Baruch Hu. That's what they used to do. They used to see, this investment, this calf, this cow, this sheep, whatever it was, burning for Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And that's one aspect of Nesivos Nefesh. We're missing that experience of feeling like I'm hurting myself in not in a negative way, but I'm willing to take away from my own safety, my own security. Why? Because I recognize that Hakadosh Baruch Hu is ultimately my true security. And I'm able to do that. We're missing that component of Nesivos Nefesh. The Ramban also in the beginning of Sefer Vayikra explains that a carbon was symbolic in that when a person would bring the carbon and they see the flesh burning on the Mizbeach and they see the blood being sprinkled by the Kohanim onto the Mizbeach, the person should think that should be my flesh, that should be my blood. I deserve to be dead. I deserve to be sacrificed before Hashem because I did an Aveira. They even talk about an Aveira B'Shogeg, but still, a person's supposed to be thinking in that sense. And if we're able to picture ourselves in that way, so then that is really another way of connecting to Karbanos and recognizing that there's a message there for each of us in terms of the idea of Nesivos Nefesh and what we're missing because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. At a bit of a lower level, when we have even a harder time connecting to that, so there's a story which I always find helps put things in perspective as well. There's a story of two Chayalim who were fighting in the Six-Day War in 1967 when we were zocha to liberate Harabayas and recapture Yerushalayim and the Kotel. And these two soldiers approached the Kotel. One was religious and one was not religious. And they had been debating about the significance of the war and Yerushalayim throughout the battle. And they were victorious in battle, and they approached the Kotel. And the religious soldier is crying, and he's thinking of 2,000 years of history, of Golus, and he's thinking about how Moshe Rabbeinu would only dream to have come here, and what a schus it is for him to be at the Kotel, to daven to Hashem Yisbarach at the Kotel. And he's crying tears of 2,000 years of Golus, and he's crying tears of joy at the same time. The non-religious soldier also approaches the Kotel, and he also is crying. And the religious soldier turns to him and he says, I don't understand. Lama taboka? Lama taboka? Why are you crying? You're not religious. You said that this is not going to be meaningful to you at all. And the non-religious soldier answers him and says, Ani boche, al mash ani lo boche. I'm crying on the fact that I'm not crying. Meaning to say, he recognizes that there's a chisaron, there's a certain lacking in and of himself, and that he doesn't connect to those 2,000 years of Golos. He doesn't connect to the hoping, waiting anxiously for connection to Zion, to connection to Makom HaMikdash, to the holiest place in the world. He's crying on the fact that he wasn't crying. So for us, trying to recognize that we do have a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but that it takes Nesivos Nefesh, it takes an aspect of self-sacrifice, and that the Beis HaMikdash and bringing Karbanos was the symbol of that type of self-sacrifice. In this week's Parshas Pinchas, so we understand that the avoda, the concept of avoda, of serving Kodesh Baruch Hu, in the most maximum way, in the most primal way that a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to see from us, it's an idea that it takes Nesivos Nefesh, it takes hard work, it takes self-sacrifice and being mevatel ourselves, overcoming our whims, overcoming our desires, in order to really put HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire first. We'll keep this in mind as we sing the following song that comes from the pasuk in Yeshaya Hanavi, upon the nevuah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires karbonos, not only from us, from his people, the Jewish people, but also from all people throughout the world, because because Beis Hamikdash was really HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home, where it calls out in a sense to all the nations, where it was our gateway to be able to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the highest way. So we'll sing this song. Join me wherever you are, and Be'ez Hashem, have the kavanah of the ideas that we learned here, and it should be a hisorus. It should be an awakening within us to connect to the ideas of karbanos and to connect to the Beis Hamikdash in the time of Bein Hametzarim, so that our avelus should ultimately be turned to gula b'siyata d'shmaya b'karav m'hera m'mina. Vahavi oisim el hakavachi v'simachtim b'veis tefilasi. Vahavi oisim el hakavachi v'simachtim b'veis tefilasi. Hayalai Seihem V'Zircheihem Leheratzai Namizbechi Ki V'Si Beis Tefillah Yikarei L'chol Ha'amim. Ayay Seihem V'Zircheihem Leheratzai Namizbechi Ki V'Si Beis Tefillah Yikarei L'chol Ha'amim. Nididai Ay ay la di di da 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 da. Ay ay da 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 da. Ay ay di 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 da. Di di da. Ya 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 ya. La na 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 da 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 da. I wish everyone a good Shabbos, a holy Shabbos, a sweet Shabbos. We should be blessed to a gula of a karev and heavy amen.